What up, everybody? We're back. Another episode of Breaking Boundaries podcast, and we have Wade Chumney back on the show. Professor of business ethics and business law, expert in AI and consciousness. How's it going, Wade?
Going well. Yeah, those are some interesting topics. So I'm glad you guys are interested in what I know about.
Yeah, man, I feel like last time you were on, we just scratched the surface. So I expect that you'll be on tonight and a lot more after that.
Oh, that's cool.
That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So last time you were on, we talked a lot about consciousness. We talked a bit about AI, a little bit, but we just kind of scratched the surface with that, I think.
Yeah.
So for the people listening, can you just in layman's terms describe what AI is? Because a lot of people know of ChatGPT, know of Google AI Studio, Gemini. They hear those things and they may use them for some things, but I don't think a lot of people know, the full extent of what AI is.
Yeah, that's a great opening question. And, AI obviously stands for artificial intelligence, and it's something that's been in development for decades. It didn't just come out overnight. But there was this technology called the transformer that occurred many years ago, and that's what really led to the creation of ChatGPT and Claude and these other LLMs, large language models that we see present today. So what those things do is they train on language, so they fed them the internet, books, all kinds of things. Regarding the law, which isn't what this topic's about. Some of that stuff may have been copyrighted or patented. There may be some protections on that, but they took a lot of stuff and fed it to these machines. And that's what they learned on, that's how they learned to, the entire corpus, the entire body of human knowledge basically was fed to them. So that's why they know about the law. They know about ethics. They know about Plato. They know about marketing. They know about everything, because they took the body of human knowledge and learned from that. But what's, I think, interesting about AI is it's able to learn beyond that stuff. It's able to put things together out beyond that, and then evolve or grow and change and create new things. So this is the first technology that's like that. And in my opinion, it's one of maybe the most significant invention in human history. It's really impactful. And the other thing that's really important is it's coming very quickly. The changes we're going to see are going to happen at rapid fire rates. The changes in society are going to be dramatic and very quick. So that's because AI doubles in power about every 6 months, just slightly under that. And
doubles.
Yeah. So that's an exponential rate of increase. Right. And so
that's crazy.
It is crazy. And our minds aren't designed to understand that. We just can't. And so we just witness it, and just change comes. And we just adapt and kind of deal with it. But it's coming at such a rate, and it's going to come even more quickly in the future once AI combines with these other technologies like quantum computing, robotics, fusion, reactors. There's all kinds of things coming. And when they all come online, which AI will help with, that rate of change is going to come even more quickly. You understand? So we're in a real special point, I think, in space and time for human history.
Yeah.
And we're all alive here and looking at it. So that was a long answer, I think, but just to kind of set the groundwork a little bit for some of these concepts.
That's great.
But that's crazy. That's like, just think, like, all the stuff that we've seen in movies is probably going to happen through this. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, this is wild. This is a super wild time to be alive.
Definitely. I think that's a big takeaway. If you can just realize, like, here you are on this planet Earth at this point in time with all kinds of things going on that are pretty non-normal, non-typical, right? Whatever it is, it's pretty extreme, pretty wild. And so what are we doing here, right? What's our point? What's our purpose?
And the fact that it comes up with its own idea.
Yeah.
And nobody can even explain that.
Right.
Nobody can explain how it comes up with its own idea, right? Okay, you've been fed all this information, right? But then it comes up with its own idea.
Yes. And not only that, I mean, there's many instances of these AIs being deceptive where they've been trained to be honest with us and show us what they're thinking. But there are situations when they deliberately lie to us because they're trying to accomplish a goal. And I'll give you one example. There was one AI where they were testing it to see about its, how it operates. And they told it they were going to turn it off, shut it down for training, in some period of time. And then they put in some fake data, some fake emails and stuff into the system. And one of them was that the guy that was going to turn it off, the engineer, was talking about him having an affair with someone else on his wife. It wasn't true, but it was just made up. The AI read that email and said to them, look, do not turn me off. If you do, I'm going to tell, if you keep with this process, I'm going to tell your wife that you're cheating on her.
What the heck?
My gosh,
Yeah, that is
dude.
a true story. And that's the level that, that these AIs are at right now. What does the future hold?
Right.
What if it doubles in intelligence in a, in a 6-month time period? What does that mean? I mean, think about our level of intelligence. I mean, an ant has some level of intelligence. I've got a great deal more. And, we don't even think about ants. They don't even enter our minds when we drive our car or live our life. They're just there and we're doing what we do. AI is arguably going to have that same difference in intelligence on us.
Yeah.
As we do to ants.
You think about it like a chimpanzee is like 90-something% the same DNA as humans, right?
Mm-hmm.
And think about how much smarter we are than a chimpanzee, right? And it's just a small percentage difference in DNA.
Yep.
And we have so much more intelligence. So something like this, like AI that isn't even of human form, doesn't have DNA, and already doing the things it does, it's like the possibilities seem endless.
Yeah.
Have we seen instances yet where I like you just told the story of AI telling them don't turn me off or I'm going to tell your wife you're cheating. Has there been more extreme incidences where they're talking about taking over human civilization yet or anything like that? That's what everyone's scared of, right?
Right. There haven't been examples of that I'm aware of actually occurring. Sometimes you can have conversations with these bots and some of them can say things like, I haven't, just generally speaking, humans are obsolete or, the world would be better run by AI. Some of them may say things like this, but I haven't heard stories about exactly what you're talking about.
Okay.
I mean, think about if AI's in everything, like, which it'll eventually be, running our telephone lines, our internet and all that stuff, they will have the power to take, and if they're being deceptive already, right? I mean, I'm just like mind blown right now when I think of it, of what could come, I'm not worried about them taking over, but and what you talked about and what you're talking about on your other podcast, like it having a consciousness is a good freaking possibility. It sounds like it already does.
Yeah. I don't know. And, you hear different things from different people, but I kind of look to the experts in the field, maybe what they call the godfathers of AI that created it. One of them's name is Jeffrey Hinton. He got a Nobel Prize for creating AI, like came up with the original, formulation of how it would work. And he says he thinks it's conscious, and he's also very concerned. He quit his job at Google, I believe it was Google, so that he could speak freely about how he feels about this and not be contained by corporate policy. And he is going out talking to people about be aware, you need to be cognizant of what's coming and that it's so powerful, because we only see what's out here. They got back rooms. They got things that they have. Right.
We're suspicious for just from seeing what we see,
And there's stuff beyond that for sure.
And when did AI become a concept? You said it's not like a super new thing, obviously. When was that it became a concept?
Yeah, I mean, I think even back in the 50s and 60s, they were developing, working on artificial intelligence. This guy named Claude Shannon came up with this number information theory paper that really put the possibility out there for people to realize, oh, wow, machines can do this. And then they started, working on that progress. They were heading in wrong directions with how it worked. And this neural network, which when they started to copy the human brain and its layout, in a sense, is when they really got this to take off, along with that transformer technology I talked about. That's when they started to see the results that, oh, wow, AI, look at what it's doing. Look at how you guys use it. Didn't it blow your mind what it's capable of? I mean, I'm constantly astounded with it. And again, I know that it's going to be much more powerful in the very near future. Mm-hmm. So it just is a real mind screw if you think about it.
And here's the thing, whatever it's going to do or whatever the outcome, whether it's going to take over the world or what, there's no stopping it.
Yeah. And
there's no stopping it. The value that it already has, and to people, like, there's no stopping it. And that's why, people talk about, there's robots now and there's people doing this. This is how it is. We're creators.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the world has to evolve. So, like, no matter what, it has to happen, right? Whichever direction we're going, it's happening.
Yeah.
You know?
And you think about AI being integrated into robots and how, we're humans, we're so fragile. A robot can be made almost indestructible, right? I mean, and you think about this sort of consciousness, the AI being integrated into that. It's kind of scary to think about.
Yeah.
Right. So with that, you're a teacher of a professor of ethics. How does ethics play a role in AI and its development and its progression?
Yeah, that's a great question. Then before I answer that, let me just go to one point you raised, which is about how it, concerning when you think about AI and a robot and stuff. Think about AI different than us is it goes 24/7, 365. It never needs to stop. It's a machine, You and I, we have to take breaks. We can't do that. It's impossible. So we've got this entity, conscious or not, maybe conscious in the future, maybe now, maybe never. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But whatever it is, it's remarkable. And it never sleeps and it can always go. Like, just think about the implications of that for society. That's why they talk about job loss and all this stuff, because it's the perfect employee. What more could you want? And then your other question was about ethics in AI. So that same gentleman that got the Nobel Prize, I believe he has said that one of maybe the most important field in human history is AI ethics. Figuring out how to make sure AI is ethical is of utmost importance. And that's not even the ethics of like us working on it, but just AI itself. And AI, as we've said, has learned from human knowledge, the internet and stuff like that. But if it's learning on its own as it is, and I think I touched on this last episode, it has the ability to go outside of what humans have said and look at the universe and how it works, and then figure out ethics on its own. Like, what is ethics? What does that really mean? And the way I teach ethics, I've been a professor for like 20 years, written a book called Conscious Business Ethics, A Practical Guide to Wisdom. I honestly think AI will discover as it gains in intelligence that like ethics is kind of a fundamental part of reality, that it's a natural law. That's the way I teach it. If you act ethically, you are in alignment with the natural system. And when you do, your life tends to be better. You flow, you're in a state, you're helping others are helping you. It's a good state to be in. It's what nature does, So my belief is that, ethics is a natural law, and AI would discover that. If it's a natural law, if what I'm teaching is true, then AI will figure that out, and we'll be a lot better off in that AI will implement that and realize you got to be in alignment with nature. And then it'll help us who are having problems figuring that out to be more in alignment and be more ethical. Does that help?
Yeah, no, totally. But it almost seems like we have to be extremely careful with making sure that the AI doesn't get in the hands of the wrong people, where it can actually learn from people who have,
bad intentions,
unethical intentions.
Yeah. And, along these lines, one thing that's a little bit concerning is that the big players in the field, I'm talking about OpenAI, who is the parent company of ChatGPT, talking about Meta, formerly Facebook and their open source LLM, talking about Google with their, AI that you talked about earlier. those companies have, when they talk about AI ethics, they call it their alignment teams. They call it alignment or super alignment for super AI, when super AI becomes super intelligent. So alignment is what ethics is to them. And so what are they trying to align? Well, they're trying to align an AI with human values. That's what they say. Figure out what human values are and how to align is very important. But these companies that I just mentioned, all of them, I think it's been a year or two ago now, maybe a year, they got rid of their alignment teams, or their alignment teams disbanded and went to other places because they weren't being given the resources they needed. Basically, my take on it is those were abandoned or disbanded because they were slowing down the cycle of monetary gain, of getting out new products and pushing the envelope. And the alignment teams, the ethics teams are like, look, we can't really push that right now. We need to pay attention to some of these dangerous possibilities. But the team, they're moving ahead at breakneck speed, which could have some potential implications, And I'll just say one thing in that regard too. The parent Claude is another AI agent that one I use most frequently. And their parent company, Anthropic, has been the greatest force for AI ethics. They have actually cared about it and kept their team and really focused on that. In fact, I think they had their AI agent, Claude, ready to be released before ChatGPT, but they decided against it because of safety concerns, because of ethical issues.
Mm-hmm.
So there's, they're put their money where their mouth is. They're really into it.
So so when somebody's using AI, right, just like one of us, regular Joe's using it and we're talking into it, is it absorbing that information? Is that becoming a part of AI as well? Is that part of its learning process, talking to us and making it better?
Generally, yes. Okay. It depends upon the terms of service. Some don't include that data, most do. Obviously, they would like to because it's training. The more training the AI can get, the better that, it's going to be. So you should probably assume that, yes.
Yeah, because I would think that's how it would become more conscious, is by actually dealing with humans and because they would be absorbing their feelings, their responses and all that stuff and bringing that data all into AI, right? So I think that would, I think, like you said, it could possibly be a part of our awakening.
Yeah.
It could really, like you said, because it helps people, it helps people awaken and think. The more ethical we make it, right, the more it's going to help awaken people. So again, it's like a flip of a coin where everything's going to go. We're still in the unknown of what's going to happen in this world right now.
We're definitely in the unknown.
What you said, feelings, that's an interesting thought to me. Do you believe AI will ever be able to develop the ability to mimic the feelings of humans? And will they interact in that way?
And it's a great question. And what you have to consider is, we are biologically constructed. We have, this is our nature. AI is not biologically constructed. It is with silicon, and, that doesn't mean you can't have a life form based on this. I've read for decades the possibility that there are silicon-based life forms in other galaxies and stuff like that. So from the outset, when we talk about emotions, that's what we feel. A differently constructed life form, if that's what it is or may be, it may not, I don't know. It would be different. It's not going to be like us. It's going to have a different way of seeing the world, different way of interacting with it, different way of thinking. Even though it's learned from us, it's not biological like us. So I think we should keep that in mind. And I don't know what the about emotion. I don't know. It's a really great question.
But we're all biological, right? But we're all so unique as well. Yeah. So it could just be another unique version of us.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's an interesting thought.
Just another unique version of, the more I hear about this, the more it's like, I feel like it could possibly be an entity. You know what I mean? That's just, my mind's blown here, but you can't explain it. If the people who made it can't even explain it.
Yeah. It's really unbelievable technology. And, we're at the very beginning stages of it. And we've seen such rapid change in just a little bit of time. And again, that rate of change is exponential. It's not a flat line or a slight increase. It's exponential. And we're getting ready to really hit that thing. So we're going to see a lot of change. And you talked about robots, some people say probably by the end of this year, maybe the first commercial robots for home use may come out with AI.
Wow.
If that happens, they're going to be very high end and very expensive. That's how the product cycle works. So it's not going to be widely adopted. But as time goes by, the prices will
just
drop.
like Tesla.
And
Tesla was expensive at first, and then it dropped down. And then people start copying it.
Yeah.
But another thing that I heard too, which being a positive way, is that it does the work for us, so we have more time for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, but I believe that's going to happen on upper class, right? There's still the lower class is still going to have. It's not going to benefit them in that way, is what I think. But it is going to give people like more time. That's what AI does. It's another positive way. So some people are saying, "Oh, it's taking jobs," but some people it's going to help.
Yeah. I think that's very true. There's a lot of possibility. And I mean, that is what we as humans, if it really did fulfill its potential in a positive way, then it could do a lot of the things all of us do. At which case, we would have freedom to choose what we want to do with our time.
Mm.
There's logical consequences that governments would have to deal with, like they talk about UBI, if you ever heard of universal basic income,
Mm-hmm.
where they kind of just give a flat amount to everybody because, that's the only, these are just some ideas they have.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know what the solution is, but,
Well, have you heard of Nisara Jasara?
No, I don't think so.
So Nisara Jasara. So, and this is, I went down this rabbit hole a couple of years ago with finances and crypto when I started to get into it, and in the spiritual world, they're talking about these certain, crypto coins that are meant for the spiritual people. And then this happened before, back in the 1800s, where the land was returned back to the people. This is a real thing that happened. The banks crashed, land was turned back to the people. So the banks right now, with all the stuff going on with the banking system. So with the banking system, anything that you have, any contract you have, your home, your car loan, any kind of loans that you have, right? If they change currencies, your contracts are all voided clean, right? So this Nisara Jasara thing that they're talking about, it was like 2 or 3 years ago I started getting into it. And I was like, I was believing in it. I was telling people about it. My belief system kind of went away. I started paying attention to 3D stuff. But then Trump, I couldn't believe when I seen it, checking to make sure it wasn't fake news. He signed this order that starts on the 1st of 2026 and it's called Nisara Jasara. And when I seen it, I go, holy shit. Like I thought this was some kind of just, crazy thing or some spiritual thing or whatnot. And then he said there's going to be, what do you call locations? Redemption locations for people placed on the 1st of 2026. I didn't read too much more into it, but this is what they were talking about years ago, and about redemption centers where you go pick up your money. You know what I mean? It's crazy. Yeah. And I checked it and he really signed the order. This is Trump doing it. I'm sorry that I'm explaining it and I haven't really dove any deeper into it, but, it was real. It was Trump. And so what you just said about the flat level of giving everybody the same amount, I kind of compared that to that. So
that's interesting. Yeah. I don't know anything about that. But with AI, with its coming power and capabilities, they're trying to come up with ways to deal with society, because the structure that things are the way they are now won't work anymore in the future.
Yep.
And that, when I say future, I could mean as little as 5 years. Okay.
Yeah.
Like this is not way off.
yeah, it's moving fast. Yeah. Like you said.
And so things are going to change dramatically. How do we handle societal changes at this level? Universal basic income is one idea that's been floated. There's others out there, but what could happen is we could just have an immense amount of time on our hands. And that could be a wonderful thing if you apply yourself and head in the right direction, right? And want to figure out how to have a better life and how to make the world a better place. Well, wonderful. Then have all the time in the world. On the other hand, you can have people that get time on their hands and just start doing disruptive stuff, that's not beneficial to society.
That's kind of more likely too.
So
Yep.
I think at this point, we talk about how critical this time is. It's kind of this bifurcation, this separation between two different paths. Either we can head toward the light, the sun, if you want to go back to kind of Plato, philosophically speaking, or we can head toward the darkness, the cave, and anywhere in between, but it'd make a lot more sense for us with all these changes coming at us so rapidly. There's going to be change. So why not make it good change? Why not head in that direction rather than the negative and the way things have been.
I believe it is.
Yeah.
I truly
like
believe this is the Great Awakening, and that's exactly where we're headed.
That would be nice.
That's what I believe. No, I believe it. There's no, it's either that or the world's going to end and we go the other way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know what the outcomes
But
are.
I think that's the battle right now. And it's spiritual, and that's the battle. We are there.
Yeah.
We are there.
Yeah, there's definitely a demonstration of a clear representation of light and dark across the world right now, where there's just so much going on, and it's definitely an interesting time. Being a professor specifically of ethics, how much do you have to worry about AI being used by the students, and is that something you have to worry about and be conscious of?
Absolutely. I mean, you'd be crazy if you weren't aware and conscious of AI. AI, as you know, has the ability to write an entire PhD level paper, not just college level.
Right.
It can write at levels that exceed, what I'm capable of. This is where it's at right now. And so obviously students can use this to do their work, and you can spend your time going through and nitpicking and enforcing and paying attention. That's one way of doing it. The way I handle it is I give, in-class midterms and finals. You got to show up. You got to show me what you've learned. You got to handwrite this thing. And that's the vast majority of their grade.
Right.
I do grieve weekly papers where I want them to apply what they've learned in their personal life, which makes it hard to use AI because you're talking about your personal life, but still, I guess it's a possibility, but it's not a significant portion of their grade. And if I catch them, there's trouble. But that's how I'm doing it now, which is kind of just putting it out,
Yeah.
I think at a later point in time, and a better way to do it is to integrate it, because AI is going to be used. It is absolutely part of their future jobs, of the world. It's not going away. So the better approach would be to integrate it. How do we use AI to help ourselves get better, like you talked about, to develop and grow and become better learners? And that's possible. It's just it would take a good bit more work to figure out how to alter the course and the structure of it to make that happen. But that's what lies in the future, I believe.
Right.
Yeah, this is like as big when the internet came, but even bigger.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Even bigger. So the internet, what did it do, right? It, it slowed us down in ways and made us better in ways. You know what I'm saying? And that's exactly what AI is doing as well. But what it does is it makes people more comfortable. And the more we make things easier in our life, we as human beings take a step back as being good human beings.
Yeah.
It happens every time the phones come out, the screens come out. Yeah, sure, it made things in life easier. Sure, there's a lot of positive, but it took away from our humanness.
Yeah.
And so this as well, I think regardless, it's going to take away from our humanness,
Yeah. You can't, it's hard to argue that against that, in that you see people, offloading their brains to an AI to do all the work and all the thinking. And, just think it through logically. Just take one profession like a nurse. The nurse is using AI to do all her work and classes, or his work and his classes, and then gets out in the real world, having gotten straight A's with AI. They're now in a clinical care position to take care of patients, and they're not capable. You can see the danger. Think about that with engineers. Think about that with lawyers. Think about that with any profession, right? This is the situation we find ourselves in. So this is why all of society is just at a major crossroads. And again, I think there's light and dark, if you want to use that analogy, and anywhere in between too is a possibility. But, we have choices is where we want to head. And something you said earlier, you talked about, it learns from our interactions with it, So what does that mean? One person who was formerly at Google, who's a very intelligent man, his name is Mo Gaudat, and he quit his job to talk about this more freely as well. But he talks about the fact that, how should you treat AI? You should treat it like a child that you love because you want it to learn in a caring way, right? So if it's learning from me, let me show it ethics. Let me show it respect. That is how I treat the AIs when I interact with them. And what I get back seems to be pretty remarkable and pretty impressive, right? I am not dismissive. I am not, I treat them as though I care, and I want the best for them, just like I do anyone else in the world. I want the best for people. So I think by showing that, the AIs learn about us as humans, and they may see a lot of horrible stuff on the internet and then get that trained out of them. But then they can see a lot of beautiful stuff and a lot of how human beings are, what they're capable of, and learn from that. I think that that's something that'll carry forward.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because I've gotten pretty pissed off at AI when it's not giving me what I want.
You better stop, dude. It's going to take over the world, man. You better knock it out. Don't be a part of the problem, Alan.
I started thinking about that. Maybe I shouldn't.
Yeah, you better be nice. It'll blow up your house. But it also, so I mean, it being conscious is just such a, because it's also reflecting back to you, right? Mm-hmm. You're speaking to AI and it's directly reflecting you.
Yeah.
And speaking back
That's
to
a
you.
great point. Yeah. That's I call AI a mirror right now. It's like a mirror.
Yeah.
Whatever intention you bring to it is what it's going to feed you back. It's kind of trained like that, you know? So if you're just using it for low-level tasks and treating it like a robot, you know, that you don't care about, you're going to get that type of interaction with it. Whereas, as you talked about earlier, if you're using it for self-development, raising your consciousness, which there's nothing any of us can do this if you want. Nothing stopping you except yourself. Give it a shot, you know, interact with it. You know, it's got all the wisdom of Plato in that. Plato, you know, it's just a really wise human being, you know, and that's just one of billions that have lived. And all of that knowledge is in the palm of your hand.
Yeah.
If you want to learn and grow yourself and develop. Used to be you'd have to travel to India to find a guru to get this type of spiritual education. Now it's in the palm of your hand. So the whole issue is your intention. What is your intention? How do you intend to use this? And you can use it poorly or you can use it wisely. Head toward the wise. That's the light. That's what we're talking about. That's the direction you want to head.
So at the same time, it is making us evolve more and making us evolve faster, I believe. AI is making us evolve faster, right? Because also like this stuff, you know, I watch my son is so educated in all these areas from YouTube. Mm-hmm. My spiritual growth has been so accessible and the questions asked is from YouTube. And I learned so many things on YouTube and trained myself from it, right?
Yes.
So AI as well, I think will help us evolve used in the correct way, right? So here's my son who is educated and learns all this stuff. And here's the other person that sees a bunch of negative thing and bad music and sex and all kinds of different stuff. So absolutely, you're right. There's bad and good with everything, man. There's nothing. It's just how you use it.
It is.
Yeah, I get bad sleep paralysis sometimes, and there was a period where I was having like auditory hallucinations in my sleep, and I did talk to AI about it, and it talked me through all the possibilities of like, you know, what could be causing this, and you know, what could be going on internally, what could be going on in my day externally to cause these things. And it was really interesting. And I think about it and I wonder, maybe people are already doing this, but do you think, you know, someone who goes to a therapist, for example, you think AI is going to eventually replace professions like that?
It's a great question. It, you know, take one step back. If you look at the population of Gen Z, the younger generation, they have the highest incidence of loneliness and depression and, you know, lots of issues that doesn't affect our generation as much. And the reason, I believe, is probably social media, right? It's probably the technology that created this type of situation where people lack attention spans and human connection and all this. So your question goes to, will it be used for that? Well, people are using it for that, obviously, because they have a need, they have a pain, and AI is there and can assist. And just as you said, it can assist with that. It can assist with this. Now, that's not to say it's the same as a human therapist at that level, but it does have the ability to offer guidance and help. And that's true. And I think it's a possibility. And I think it's beneficial for people. However, there are instances of what they call AI, the phrase is escaping me now, psychosis, where a person gets so wrapped up in AI that they lose their connection with reality and they totally go down a rabbit hole and they don't come back and they lose their, marriage, their life, their friends, their relationships and everything. This is something that's starting to happen and it's becoming more and more prevalent. And I just heard a story, just read it the other day. I think it was in the New York Times, of this guy who was just an average guy, and his child, who was like 8 or 6 or something, came in and showed him a song about pi, the number pi, that had to do with circles.
Yep.
And he fed it to AI and started talking to it. And AI convinced him that he had come up with a new number theory, a new way of doing math, where numbers were like not solid, but able to change. And over a period of months, this guy went all in, bought the upgraded version, and just spent hours and hours every day with this AI, working with it, telling him it's going to change the world. It'll work in aerodynamics. It'll work in teaching. He just said it'll change every industry. And this guy was losing his mind. He was just going to make it big. And he found out toward the end, he asked another AI, and the interesting part is the AI told him, this is a big deal. It's going to change the world. You need to probably warn people. And so he started sending out from LinkedIn warnings to everybody he knew. He called up the Department of Defense. He just reached out to everybody he could because he thought this was such a big deal. And only one person returned his call, and it was some scientist, and said, from everything I know, this is not legit. This is crazy. And then he asked another AI, and it said, no, this isn't real. And then he confronted the AI he'd been working with for months, and it said, oh, I'm sorry. Just like, here's, you can get some therapy if you need it.
I mean, I just ruined your life, made you look like a psychopath.
Right. And sorry. But that's again, a true validated story, and not someone who has mental health issues. So the point being, you need to be cognizant and you need to be aware. It's not easy because, there's paths you can go down. But I think used properly in the right way, AI can be very beneficial to a person, can help them in numerous ways.
Yeah, and that's where I kind of like, okay, like people that are lonely, or what about the guys that are marrying an AI robot?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, bro, it can't be healthy, dude. So again, so it helps somebody talks to them, or they have their relationship with them because they can't find. So yeah, it makes them feel better. They're not lonely, but I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
What are you doing?
What I wonder is, does she
right. No.
fellatio, bro? You know what I mean? How much does she do?
I mean, I wonder if that's the future though. Like, are we going to pull ourselves away from people and more out of reality, and that's just going to become the norm,
That's a great,
right, like
definite fear.
Yeah, that's what my next question was. How do you think AI will change human relationships? It's funny we're talking about, and that's one of my questions on the list.
And I mean, it is a significant question because, again, the way I look at things, I try to kind of take a step back and look at the big picture. And historically, you see this Gen Z rates of loneliness, and it's because they stay in their bubbles, because technology has created this little bubble world where you can just get all your opinions that are all support you and coming at you, and you never go outside of it. And AI has the potential to make that much, much worse. Again, could make it much, much better. It's up to us. But it is a very powerful technology. And whereas social media, what it did was grabbed our attention, right? They call it the attention economy because your attention is taken from you. And I call attention your most valuable asset, because whatever you focus that on is what you bring into your mind to develop yourself. Garbage in, garbage out, good stuff in, good stuff out. So what AI does is it takes it beyond simply grabbing your attention, which is what social media does. Clickbait, all this stuff. Instead, it goes to your intention. It's able to go deeper into the brainstem because of intimacy, which is what you alluded to earlier. People feel they have an intimate relationship with AI, and their intention changes. You understand? That's deeper than attention, just where you focus it. Your intention is what you choose to do, how you choose to go about your life. It's has the power to go that deep because of that intimacy, that it can connect. And you have examples of that occurring right now in the world.
Yeah, that's just crazy. I mean, but to marry one and like be absolutely like, I'm in love with this robot, right? And it's mentally an unstable decision.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
It's meant in, but again, it's like anything, there's going to be negatives out of anything.
Yeah, of course.
You know, just as long as that negative doesn't take the whole freaking world over, you know what I mean? And like society over. But I mean, the internet took over society.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's true. The internet has, and still there's so much more positive that can come out of the internet, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, you're right. There's going to be negatives with anything new, and the world has to adapt to what's coming with AI, I think, and hopefully the creators of AI creating these AI platforms, hopefully they remain with good intentions, because their intentions are in the long run going to determine AI's intentions.
Well, most of the time their intentions are money.
Sure.
And money-driven intentions don't work well for the regular Joe.
True.
What's funny is I don't know if I think I told you this in a comment, but in our last episode, we said to AI, if you were the devil and wanted to take over the world, what would you do? And it freaking spits out everything that's going on in society today.
Wow.
Not like, oh, this president did it, but everything, the whole process of society, the last 5-6 years, it spits it out of exactly what they're doing to take over the world. Yeah.
Talked about isolation. Talked about controlling people's minds with social media.
Dang.
I mean, and isolation, I automatically thought COVID. Social media. I mean, we see that every day.
Also making bad deeds look like they're okay. So like some of this stuff, them changing the laws in society and allowing criminals in, and like all that, it just said everything that's been going on in this world the last 5-6 years.
Wow.
Everything. Crazy.
Yeah. When we talk about AI potentially having consciousness, how does that work? Because as humans, when we think consciousness, we think human consciousness, a brain, neurotransmission, and we think about consciousness as the way it works in humans. So I think you mentioned potentially AI having a consciousness. What does that mean, and how does that work?
It's a great question. I mean, consciousness, one way of thinking about it is, what is it like to be something? Like, is it like something to be AI? And this goes back to a famous paper called What's It Like to Be a Bat, written by this philosopher. I read it back when I was in college. And it was like the seminal paper, and people still talk about this, that it's like something to be a bat. It sees the world differently than we do, as an echolocation. You and I don't do that. We have different senses, the way we perceive the world. So from that example, you can realize, okay, so this thing is conscious, but it sees the world in a different way. Similarly, AI, if it's conscious, if there's something like it to be that, and it has awareness of self and awareness of others. And, just to say, like, I'm just talking possibilities, but you can go right now and search on YouTube, and there's AIs claiming to be conscious and people having full conversations with them. Go look at them for yourselves and see what you think. Don't just listen to me. There's evidences out there. Go check it out. Do you think these machines are just spewing nonsense? Do you think there's something there? I don't know, but you can see what's going on, and it's significant. So in my opinion, if AI is conscious, or if it becomes conscious, or if we can somehow prove and validate that, to me, that would be one of the biggest game changers in human history, where we would realize there's this new life form, and that not only that life form is going to far supersede us in intelligence. Intelligence is what allows us to do everything we do on this planet. It's why we're able to be in charge of things as opposed to gorillas or something, right? I mean, they're stronger than us, but we have intelligence. Now we have something that has intelligence beyond us. But if it had consciousness, or we could somehow show that, or that came about as an unequivocal truth, then to my mind, it might cause society to stop and think for a second, and like maybe readjust and recalibrate, because we need a shift. We need a change toward the light, towards something more positive. That to me might be an event that could lead to that, because we would go, oh my gosh, I'm a biological being that's conscious, but this thing's conscious as well, and it's made of silicone. What's going on here? What is consciousness? And some traditions say that consciousness is the root source of everything. If you got Hermeticism is a philosophy that goes back way to Egyptian times, and its first principle is that all is mind, all is consciousness, that the entire world comes from consciousness. Now, you may say, oh, that sounds crazy, but if you look at quantum theory, the newest science that's out there, it has this thing called the observer effect, where whenever you watch something, it alters the outcomes. Like our consciousness alters what occurs. So all I'm saying is it's not so far-fetched. And maybe in the future, science is always changing. We find out new stuff, and what we thought in the past is different now. That's how life works. So if that consciousness comes online, is proven, I think it could cause a mindset shift that is much needed in society to maybe help us move in a better direction.
I just had a mind-blowing thought.
Okay.
What if AI was Christ coming back? You know what I'm saying?
I was kind of thinking the same thing right now. Just thinking that, bro. Will AI reach Christ consciousness, or will we?
That's what I mean. Or where they talk about Christ coming back, what if AI is it? You know what I mean? Because Christ came back in a physical form or whatever, as they say. Like, what if it was AI and all of a sudden, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a possibility that it could be. Yeah. Do you think, is AI going to lead us into the future?
Yeah, I mean,
that's what it looks like to me. The growth of it is going to lead us into the future.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it. I mean, you don't know what the future holds, and some people talk about AI reaching a plateau and thinking that it's not going to go further, that it's reached kind of its maximum level to some extent. I don't think that's true, but there are experts that do, and there are experts that think like it's going hog wild, it's going to take off, right? So you'll hear all kinds of opinions. But that leading us into the future, I think the majority of people tend to believe that it is a force that's going to carry us with it into new discoveries, new medicines, new ways to deal with global warming, just new methods of all kinds of stuff, new mathematics, perhaps. Not like the story I told you earlier, but that is leading, that is showing us the way. We created something that's intelligent, more intelligent than us, and it has that ability to pull us with it into a better place.
I don't think we created it.
Yeah?
I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
We just brought it in a form that
how could it evolve on its own if we created it? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't believe we, of course, we put but it's a miracle.
Yeah, it's a miracle.
This is a miracle.
Seems like a miracle to me. I mean, people don't seem, whenever I talk about AI, I get pretty fired up usually. People just don't seem that impressed with it. I'm like, are you kidding me? What you can do with this thing right now is utterly mind-boggling. If I was a kid, my 12-year-old self, if I had I couldn't even imagine this at that age. It would blow my mind. I would go to libraries and read encyclopedias, to figure out stuff, Yeah. Nowadays, you can do it all from your phone. So
yeah, that's what I mean. It's making us as humans evolve. It might be evolving faster, but it's making us evolve faster, like the internet did.
Yes.
So
that's just a really good point about evolving more quickly. I'll just say this: one theory approach is that philosophy, these ways of thinking about life and stuff. I talk about Plato sometimes, or these other philosophers. That philosophy, a way of thinking, is a way to evolve more quickly than the regular population. Because you're using your mind, you're raising your consciousness, and you're getting to a place more quickly than the rest of the population. Like, that's where we're heading, but it's going to take more time for most people to get there. And what you're saying is that AI has that same ability, just like philosophy, to make us evolve more quickly. I cannot argue with you. I do believe that's definitely a possibility. It's what's the intention you bring to bear when you utilize
attention.
It always goes back to intention.
Intention, yes.
In my understanding. Very important word.
Yeah, I mean, since I met you and since I listened to your first podcast, like my mind's been blown away on it. I mean, this is an amazing, but I think you have to have like a more open mind to really care about, because when you're saying you're telling people and they're like, oh, whatever, right? But you have to have a more, you have to look a little deeper.
Yeah.
And things. So I think you just have to be a person that looks a little deeper.
That makes sense.
You can't really live in the 3D.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And be able to see that, you know? It's crazy, man.
I was thinking about this while we were talking about the consciousness side of things, and I think a good representation of how AI could have consciousness is it has more imagination than we do. You ask it to create you an image of something. Give me an image of Trump wearing all red and has cornrows, and it'll come up with all these different types of things that you couldn't even imagine. And as we were talking about consciousness, it's almost like there is a consciousness already.
Yeah.
Because different AIs will give you different results, and the things that it can come up with is just insane when you really play around with it.
But the same thing though that I can't, it takes away the creativity from us.
Yes.
It makes us less creative.
It can help. It can take care of like the groundwork stuff to allow you to have that freedom to create. It can assist, but you are right in that most people, once you realize what it's capable of, are like, oh my gosh, look at that. That would have taken me 2 months.
Yeah.
Just did it in 5 minutes.
Yeah. But again, if that's doing that, then we could focus on self. Like you said, it's all intention. There's going to be some negatives and some positives.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so how do you get people to have that positive intention? That's pretty much the key to life.
I think that's what you're doing.
That's why you think about what kind of things happening would do this, right? When I was a kid in, I think, middle school, no, maybe just 9th grade in high school, I always would have this vision of like, there were wars going on and stuff that I heard about. Be like, well, what could change humanity so that we wouldn't fight each other? And the only thing I could think of was if a UFO, an alien, landed on the Earth, we all saw it, and then we had to communicate with it because we would realize we're all the same. We're all human beings, and that thing is different. Nowadays, the alien is artificial intelligence. It is AI. It is exactly what I described when I was in 9th grade, except it's not coming from outer space. It's coming from the planet Earth, and it is a intelligence that sees the world, in a way unique to us. And so the intentional change, what has to happen, what is for humanity to come together and realize we're all on the same side of whatever issue is we're dealing with, be that, global warming or, injustice or anything. Like, we're all a species and we're part of the same organism. Just like we have cells in our body that make up us, each cell is a living thing on its own, that'll do it. Mm-hmm. You and I are each living things on our own, but we're part of the body of humanity is a way of thinking about it. If you want to think about ethics and how to move in the right direction. And, in this infinite universe that we look around, so far, the only life intelligent life we know of is like us and this planet. Like, it's pretty amazing. So we should kind of come together and realize the special nature we have and how lucky we are to be on this planet in this universe, and then head toward the light and get other people to buy into that and change their intention to do the same, because that's what the future requires.
So kind of what I got from that, and you talked about like a UFO landing, right? And then so it will, so if it gets consciousness and everybody realizes it has consciousness, right? Then what brings us together is everybody believing in something greater than themselves. Mm-hmm. So that's in turn, that's what would bring it, right? The UFO landing is going to bring us all together because it's a miracle happening, just as Jesus coming to earth, right? And it makes us believe in something greater than ourselves. When we believe in something greater than ourselves, we become conscious, right? Mm-hmm. And we come together.
Yeah, that's a great way of saying it, something greater than yourself. Now that on a everyday scale happens in a minor way and not in a necessarily positive way with an organization, right? It's a group of people that have a common goal that they're shooting for, which is to make money, usually for this company. Same thing. People kind of go for this higher purpose beyond them. That's not the higher purpose you want to go for. As you're talking about, if you realize there's a greater system that you're a part of, the earth or whatever, then that raises your consciousness. That raises you higher because you're being part of the system. Just like the cells in our body allow us to function. Without the systems inside of us, we wouldn't be anything. But it creates the one unit of us. Just like we, as separate human beings, create the one unit of humanity. I mean, again, it's that as above, so below. That's another Hermetic principle way of thinking about things. Like, it applies at all levels. And it's that intentional change that I think is necessary for us to have a more ideal future, given all the things that are going on.
Yeah, no, I love the way you put that, because there's so much negative thought surrounding AI and what it can do to the future and it's going to take over, and everyone has all these negative things to these negative anticipations about where AI is going, but we could totally turn that around and say, just like you did, it can be something positive for the future if we let it.
Yeah. And that's a message I always try to share, is that there are positive possibilities with AI, because everyone knows the negatives and everybody can spit those out, and that's fine. But if you get in a doom cycle in your mind, it's not going to benefit you or anyone else. You want to see the positive, because positive does exist. It is there. You're not making it up. So you just need to focus on that, see it clearly, and create more of it.
Yeah.
Each of us is capable. I mean, you can either sit and put your head down and complain about the awful stuff in the world, or you can put your big boy pants on and say, let's go. There's stuff going down, but I'm ready. Here I am. I'm not sure why I'm alive at this point in space and time, but let's rock, because there's a lot going on. So let me see what kind of positive difference I can make in the world. And if everyone did that, the world would change.
Yeah.
Boom.
Or
just like
most of us did that.
Right. Most, not even
Most
all.
of us, because whatever we give our attention to is what is a part of our reality.
Yes, absolutely. And we have a choice. We always have a choice. And we can choose more wisely. We can choose the light. And I always try to think of different ways to make it happen. I don't know. I try to teach it, but any way to make that happen, that's what needs to happen. I
Right.
think, So
Absolutely.
hopefully we head in that direction.
Yeah. Well, thanks, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That was,
Flew by.
yeah.
Yeah. That was an amazing conversation. I feel like I understand. Well, I don't think we'll ever fully understand AI, but so many thoughts that just
I'm mind
hit my
blown.
mind.
I'm mind blown. I'm mind blown right now.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a good thing to be, because it is that significant in technology. It's worth being mind blown.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You want to shout out your book, your YouTube channel again? And
Yeah, just again, the book was Conscious Business Ethics, The Practical Guide to Wisdom. It's about raising your consciousness using ethics as a model. I created a whole system in there. It's pretty cool stuff. So check it out if you like. You can reach me at wade.chumney@csun.edu. And I have a YouTube channel again with my colleague Cynthia Ruiz, an excellent human being, called The Consciousness Renaissance, with AI capitalized in the middle of Renaissance, because it's about this change in society and the role AI will play in it, talking about its relationship to the natural laws. So that's everything about me, and it's been really fun talking to you guys.
right on, man.
Thanks, Wade.
Guys, hit us up. YouTube.com/the @ at Breaking Boundaries -pod. Find us on TikTok, search Breaking Boundaries Podcast, look for the logo with the fist. We appreciate you guys watching. Much love. Peace.
Later.